Please welcome our Master of Ceremonies, the Honorable Monica Medina, Assistant Secretary of State for Oceans and International Environmental and Scientific Affairs.
Wow, this is incredible. This is our moment. This is the year the ocean becomes part of the solution to the climate crisis. This is the year we begin to end the scourge of plastic pollution in our ocean. This is the year we confront illegal fishing and the harm it causes people and the ocean. This is the year we put the world on a path to protect at least 30% of the ocean by 2030, including the high seas, the Arctic, and the Antarctic. This is the year we reverse the decline in the health of the ocean. As President Whipps and Special Envoy Kerry have said, the time is now, the place is Palau. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to Day 2 of the Our Ocean Conference. My name is Monica Medina, and I am the Assistant Secretary of State for Oceans, Environment, and Science. It is my honor to be your MC today. As we gather in Palau, we stand at a crossroads. One path leads to more of the same, an ocean that is getting warmer, more acidic, and less productive. A world of more extreme weather and rising seas. A natural world burdened with more pollution and less biodiversity. A world in which there is truly no place in the ocean that is protected from illegal activity. The other path leads to a new relationship with nature, a path that reverses the decline in the health of the ocean, a path that restores nature to the species with whom we share this planet, a path in which people who harm the ocean or its resources are found and brought to justice, a world where we live sustainably with nature. We are here in Palau to choose this new path. Yesterday, we heard about solutions the ocean offers to confront the climate crisis. We heard about innovations to the ever-challenging goal of sustainable fisheries. And we heard about ways to promote a blue economy that is good for communities and people and the ocean. We also learned about the important role indigenous knowledge and leadership has played, is playing, and must continue to play in the sustainable management of the ocean. Today, we will continue our journey and learn more from the speakers on marine protected areas, marine pollution, and maritime security, and even more. And to get us started, we will hear from someone who, as President of the United States, safeguarded more of the ocean than any other president and increased protection of waters around the US by 4-fold. And that's when his administration wasn't rebuilding fisheries, clamping down on illegal fishing, and creating national policies to protect the ocean. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you a true ocean champion, a native son of Hawaii and our first US Pacific Islands president, former President of the United States, Barack Obama.
Hi, everybody. I'm sorry I can't be with you in beautiful Palau, but I know you're in good hands with two champions of our planet and our oceans, President Whipps and my former Secretary of State, John Kerry. I'm especially glad that this year's Ocean Conference is being held in a Pacific Island nation for the first time. Growing up in Hawaii and Indonesia, I learned to appreciate the bond between island people and the ocean. For many, it's the source of their livelihoods, their culture, their reason for being. And all of us benefit from the ocean no matter where we live. The ocean feeds us, protects us, regulates our climate, and anchors everything from tourism to trade. Now, all of that is at risk. As a changing climate causes oceans to warm and sea levels to rise, lives are being threatened and entire nations are in danger of being swallowed by rising waters. On Palau, you're already experiencing hotter days and the loss of coral reefs, and are expected to face stronger storms and increased flooding. That's why we need to protect the ocean, just as it's protected us. and that's where all of you come in. As president, I was proud to designate what was then the largest marine conservation area on the planet in the Pacific. And I worked with leaders from around the world, including many of you at this conference, to make protecting our oceans a priority. Now I need you to go even further. For years, the Our Ocean Conference has galvanized governments, the private sector, and civil society to fight for our oceans. And the commitments you make here today, in the next several days, from cracking down on illegal fishing to getting plastic pollution out of our waters, can have a real impact. So my challenge to all of you is to act boldly. Act like our children and grandchildren's future is at stake. Because it is. Thank you, and have a wonderful conference.
Thank you to President Obama for helping to start a global movement to establish large, and I mean supersized, marine protected areas that benefit both people and nature. His leadership has led to a global movement to protect at least 30% of land and ocean by 2030. Two themes that run through this year's Our Ocean Conference are the critical role the ocean plays as a part of the solution to the climate crisis, as well as the importance of ocean or island communities on the front lines of climate change and forging the innovative solutions we need. Let's hear now from two leading global voices for the ocean, beginning with Patricia Espinoza, the Executive Secretary of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Under Ms. Espinoza's leadership, the ocean is increasingly seen as a source of the solutions to the climate crisis. Thanks to her leadership, every COP is a blue COP. Please help me welcome Patricia Espinoza.
Thank you, Monica, and it's great to see all of you here today. It's a pleasure to join you. Like so many of us, I have traveled far to get to this beautiful location and the warm welcome our gracious hosts have extended to us. The majority of us here are mainlanders. We understand the importance of the ocean, but we are not of the ocean, like those who call Palau and this region home. Here, the health of the ocean, and by extension, the climate, is not a theoretical concept. It is a matter of life, of legacy, of memory, of prosperity, of generational inheritance, and so much more. Mainlanders often refer to small island states and low-lying regions as being on the front lines of climate change. On one level, this is true. The low-lying coastal zone is currently home to around 680 million people and is expected to reach more than 1 billion people by 2050. Often missed, however, is the deeper message that the protection of the ocean is relevant and directly tied to all people on this planet. So is addressing climate change. And despite all the scientific and personal evidence of climate change, many still think of climate change as some distant challenge. Keeping with this metaphor, it's how humanity has long thought about the ocean as well, that it was so big, so distant, that it couldn't possibly be impacted by our pollution, our chemical poisons, our negligence. Climate change is our existential emergency, far outweighing any immediate crisis we face. It is borderless and connects us all, regardless of geography. That's why we are here. Ladies and gentlemen, The 6 thematic areas this conference addresses reflect this interdependency and geographic connection, and each are key to not only repairing our oceans, but directly tied to a more sustainable future. Today, I will focus on one of those areas in particular, confronting the ocean climate crisis and finding ocean solutions to climate change as it directly impacts the work of the United Nations Climate Change Secretariat. We recognize that the ocean is an enormous carbon sink and absorbs more than 90% of the heat generated by climate change. But this nature-based solution is not limitless, as we clearly see in the increasing acidification of oceans and bleaching of coral reefs. To repair the ocean that ultimately impact and are impacted by our climate, we must now follow the science, which is clearly spelled out in the IPCC's recent report on the ocean and cryosphere in a changing climate. As the IPCC tells us, we're currently on track for a 3.2 degree rise in global temperature by the end of the century. We need urgently a course correction. In addition to acting as a carbon sink, the ocean offers enormous potential for other mitigation and adaptation solutions as well. For example, protecting and restoring ocean habitats, such as seagrasses and mangroves, along with their associated food webs, can sequester carbon dioxide from the atmosphere at rates up to 4 times higher than terrestrial forests can. And this work can happen immediately. In fact, nature-based solutions as a whole offer significant potential to help limit global warming, with the possibility of providing around 20% of the emissions reductions needed by 2050. On the other hand, renewable energy, and in particular, offshore wind energy, has the potential to generate electricity well beyond our current demand. The potential is there. We can do it. But we must work together to achieve it. We need a massive deployment of these technologies and access to them for all, and especially the most vulnerable countries. For this, one thing is needed above all else: political decisions made at the highest levels. And we need them now in multiple areas. If we continue with the current pace in our process, we will fail to meet the goals of the Paris Agreement. Let me focus on one specific area, however, as I close my remarks. I encourage parties to strengthen ocean climate action in their national climate action plans, known as NDCs, and their national adaptation plans. In Glasgow, at COP27, nations were reminded that they must not only submit their plans, as many haven't, they must make their current pledges stronger. And these stronger plans need to be communicated as soon as possible to the UNFCCC so that in less than 7 months, when the conference in Sharm el-Sheikh takes place, we can demonstrate to the world that progress is being made and that the 1.5 goal is still within reach. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, the solutions are not the problem. Urgent action is the problem. We need your plans, we need your actions, and we need them now. In fact, I would like to invite all participants here today to do their utmost to ensure that the commitments made at this Our Ocean conference are included in the NDCs and communicated to UN climate change directly. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, The ocean has fed and sustained us for centuries, and we cannot continue to pollute and plunder it without regard to consequences. We are fast running out of time and excuses to get off the path we are currently on. Nations must have the courage to do exactly that. I believe there is still an opportunity to shape the 21st century economy in ways that are clean, green, and blue, healthy, safe, and just for all people, especially in the most remote and vulnerable parts of the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patricia. We all look forward to keeping future COPs blue. Our next speaker has been passionate about the ocean since the 4th grade when she read Shark Lady, Diary of Eugenie Clark. Originally from the Northern Mariana Islands, Kalani Regis is a passionate environmental and Chamorro culture advocate while she pursues her degree in coral reef microbiology. And in her free time, she produces the podcast Deep Pacific for the people of Oceania. Please help me welcome Ms. Kalani Regis. Woo!
Hafade, Tirawami, and Ali, everyone. My name is Kalani Regis, as you just heard, and I am a Chamorro podcaster and future coral reef ecologist, as well as the founder of the grassroots organization, the Deep Pacific Collective. The group, which I founded in 2020, activates Pacific people to empower their communities through talking story and hearing others. I was chosen as a youth delegate, specifically because I said in my application that the Our Ocean Conference is a place that needs stories, because everyone has an ocean story. We are in desperate need of more diverse stories like mine, not just statistics and facts, but stories of ocean innovation, adaptation, and resourcefulness. You can find all of that right here in this room. Many people have spoken about empowering or activating the youth. I believe if we want to empower youth in our communities, the first step is to listen and truly hear us. We all must unleash a flood of ocean stories like this, and we must make efforts to perpetuate knowledge sharing by telling our stories and creating new ones if we are to continue having the audacity, as President Barack Obama once said, to remain hopeful in such times. Youth of diverse backgrounds have so much to bring to these discussions. And in creating my collective, I situated myself among those who share the same love for the ocean and advocate in unique ways towards a peaceful, prosperous, and connected Pacific that is equitable, culturally grounded, and inclusive. Something that, since the age of colonialism began, has become fragmented more and more. I actually don't call myself an activist, but rather an advocate. I've made it a part of my life's mission to advocate for and with young people of the Pacific, to believe in their power through hearing other islanders speak about their experiences, especially in my home islands, the Marianas, the Commonwealth of the Marianas, where I'm from, as well as Guam, where I currently reside. But I never thought this was my calling. That's because I am drawn to that feeling of wonder that happens while submerged and while I'm looking at my favorite sea creature or coral. Something that we might all relate to. Chasing that wonder and embracing my curiosity, really, has guided my life's decisions, along with the deep love of the sea instilled in me by my upbringing as a Micronesian daughter. I must praise beautiful Palau, its people, and the Our Ocean team for putting together this conference, this long-awaited conference, and giving young people a larger voice and role than they've ever played at past conferences. Palau has set the bar for how they treat their own and other countries' youth. Stephen Victor, Palau's Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries, and the Environment, appealed to two values at One Young World's COP26 panel on Indigenous knowledge for climate change action. One being respect and the other being responsibility. We respect the efforts those before us took to give us a world better than what we have today. However, we are passing a world to the next generation different from the one that we inherited. We hold that collective responsibility of making or advocating for change in our own communities. To this end, I want to introduce something novel that has never been done, and that is the Youth Delegates' collective commitment. We propose the formation of a task force of previous Our Ocean youth delegates that facilitates the further integration of young people. This will ensure the continuity and passing of knowledge from conference to conference and youth inclusion in the dialogues and decision-making processes. This inclusion should be done from the strategic planning phase and should not be tokenistic. We came to this consensus through our involvement in the 7th Our Ocean Conference, our participation in the plenary as speakers, and from our experiences as leaders in our own communities. Palau has raised the bar, and we urge future Our Ocean Conference organizers to continue and improve upon this tradition of youth inclusion. Our ancestral life-giving ocean, as has been pointed out, is the world's last and greatest defense against climate change, but it's reaching a capacity never before tested. Mass coral bleaching, loss of marine mammals, coastal areas inundated, and fish populations depleted are some of the unimaginable consequences of climate change on our ocean. It is the buffer against the pollution that developed countries, their militaries, and destructive practices have largely put out into the world and continue to do. And I reiterate that only collective action can accomplish this goal of protecting mine and our ancestor, the ocean. Saina ma'asi and thank you.
What amazing women leaders we have in the ocean community. I want to recognize the two today and the ones yesterday and the ones to come later. Thank you to President Obama, to Patricia and Kalani for inspiring us all here in Palau and across the world. Through your vision, your leadership, and your actions, you bring us all hope.